Hello, friends. Welcome to another episode of Insightful Conversations with your host, Krishna Radha. Today, the guest on our show is Martha Ballesteros. She was born in Colombia. Let me correct. Her name is Martha Ballesteros Shakti, and she was born in Colombia in 1950. She had a rough start to begin with her mother passing away when she was just 1 month old, living with a distant and somewhat violent father, abusive stepmother. Relief came in form of grandmother and her nanny with whom she spent her formative years of her early life, first 7 years. Though life wasn't tender, she did have a very clear inner voice right since she was child, which guided her through the story of her life. Martha is a loving mother and grandmother to 4 kids, and let's explore today her story, how she found peace with her demons and also Osho's grace. She has lived in several communes in Europe, along with few years in Pune and then the ranch for some time. So, without further delay, please welcome Martha Barestros Shakti.
Hi, Radha. How are
Hello.
you? So nice to see you.
So
Thank you
nice,
so much
lovely.
for this space that you created, and thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for having. So, Martha, my first question, we'll start right off. Um, and I'm not starting with any easy questions for you, so forgive me for that. There is uh, I don't know what you can call him. He's a scientist who works with brain waves. His name is Joe Disperanza, and he has done some phenomenal work in brain waves like alpha waves, beta waves, and how meditation works. And it's published actually in the University of California, San Diego, I think. A lot of
Yes,
people kind of know him because of that. So he says that when there is excessive stress, the brain goes into low beta waves, and or the feeling part becomes more activated because the alpha waves kind of are activated when you go into low beta. And the so with your story, when I read your book, I and I'm going to introduce the viewers to your book later on with the book cover and everything. But you recently have written a very beautiful book. In that, I read that you connected with the metaphysical world a lot more than this real world. Like you could feel presence, you could see things, you had a very clear knowing of where life should be, irrespective of your circumstances. Um, is it also a disadvantage to be on a different plane, not other than this real world?
I don't think so. I think that I was very lucky that I somehow the fact that my mother left just open a window for me or a door to a dimension that is with us, but we are so involved in our daily life that we really hardly ever consider right that dimension, and is the celestial dimension. So the fact that I had access to that so young helped me go through life and gave me a deep understanding later on of something that is common for all human beings, which is that life has its ups and downs, and suffering is part of it. But there is something we can do about it. And also, we have help from other dimensions that we can use.
So, you had a baby girl named Pranava when you were very young. You were in Ibiza with your partner Hari. He was
Mhm.
also a Osho disciple, I'm guessing.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Um, how did this decision came along? Were you felt naturally with being a mother? Is that something you wanted always?
Actually, I was kind of scared because I was thinking that I don't want my daughter or my child to have the same kind of experience that I had. But somehow it was impossible to not to say yes to this being that came into my life. And I think that was the best decision that I made, because she has been an incredible light and an incredible blessing for me at all levels. So I would say yes to Pranava for eternity. Being a mother has been such a great blessing. And in itself, I think that being a mother is a path. If you take consciously that mission or that role that life gives you, you can actually grow incredible through that.
Yeah, I have two kids, and I can. It's incredibly hard. And I don't think I've done anything harder than that. Like, I could climb Mount Everest, and I know I can do it easily, but being a mother is just incredibly hard because everything is getting imprinted, right? Every action of you is getting imprinted somewhere, probably for
Exactly.
eternity, for eternity. So,
But also the love you feel and the love you get. There is, I think that's the greatest love. And I have explored love extensively.
mm,
But the love that you have for your children is something completely different. It's a love that somehow makes you transform every situation into a path of growth and a path of light. I
mm.
just love it to be a mother.
Yeah, I can see that in you. But this journey is not always smooth. There are days when um you wish there was different circumstances because it's so incredibly hard, and also because you were kind of always on the move from one place to another, exploring your own life also along the way. Uh,
Exactly.
so
But
when
she
you
was a beautiful companion.
Hmm.
I mean, I took her to Pune when she was 11 months old. And I was like, I'm not going to take her to Osho because who am I to impose anything on her?
Mhm, mhm,
But one day I actually came into my house in Koregaon Park and she was with her nanny. And she started showing me all around the pictures of Osho. And she would say, Bhagwan, Bhagwan, Bhagwan. The few words she knew how to say. So I asked her, I mean, she was just like a year old, 11 months old. I asked her, you want to see Bhagwan? And she said, yes. So I took her. I
yeah.
took her. And she never really has been like a practicing sannyasin, but I watch her and with my friends, we laugh. We say she's a total sannyasin. Somehow that it's an imprint that she has. And by that, I mean, she has this incredible integrity. She has joy. She cares.
Mm.
And she's free. That's the only gift that I wanted to give to her, which is the gift that Osho gave to me, which is freedom.
Just such an incredible gift. Honestly, we see it as a simple word, but it's not a simple word. That's just the freedom to explore and become whoever you are supposed to be.
Exactly,
It's
exactly.
is the biggest freedom any human being, whether be it mother, father, or a grandparent or a friend, can give to their anyone around them. So, but my question to you is, like, when you were in Osho ashram in Pune, visiting there you were there for a few years in Pune.
Yeah, I would go and stay either a year or
Okay,
sometimes I would stay a couple of months when I was in Europe.
okay,
So I was part of the Buddha field in Pune, but also in Europe.
yeah, because you lived in the Osho communes in
Yes, I
Germany.
lived in Germany and
Yeah.
I was part of the Commune in Germany because
Mm.
I had a beautiful relationship with one of Osho's leaders in Europe. So, yes,
Siddhartha, right? It's such a
Siddhartha,
beautiful. I have
exactly.
all these pictures. Maybe I'll just put them one by one when we talk about them. So, when can you tell us? Because we are on this topic, it was such an incredible journey for a girl who was born in Colombia, who didn't have much, honestly, financially or emotionally. And she explores, has the courage to land in Europe and then figure her things out, figure her way out. Um, and it was not only just verbal and physical abuse, you also had to deal with sexual abuse, which I will get into later whenever we come to this topic. But to cross this barrier and still have this unique ability, because you also had your blacksmith's uh, certification where you had a comfortable job.
Yes, I had taught in the university when I was 21.
Yes, so
And
you had a
I
comfortable life.
exactly, I
And
came
then
from
you gave that all up and you went to Europe. So tell me, what
exactly.
makes you do all these things?
I feel that one of the most valuable things that life gave me was this inner voice that guided me through. So when I had the sexual abuse when I was 9 years old, it happened only once. And even the person tried a few times, I actually was able to escape. So I think that I learned to escape from situations that didn't really fulfill me or that put myself in danger. And I remember I never really had any kind of desire to like be a doctor or a lawyer or anything like that. I just wanted to be free. This was my thing. And I just explored. I was very, I guess I also had examples. I went to Europe also because my aunt was there. And I guess the fact that I came from a family where nothing materially was missing because everything was given to us. We were very poor emotionally, but on the outside, we had everything we needed and more. So somehow, I guess I just simply follow my heart, follow my voice. And I think that I also had something that I still have, which is immense trust in life. I think that if you follow your inner voice, and life is going to take care of you.
And your life is a living example of that. I can, once I read your book, and this is your daughter taking sannyas with Osho.
Yes,
Such a
yes.
beautiful picture. Yeah. And
So
was and was this Siddharth in, was this
this is Chandro. This
okay?
is the boyfriend I had in Pune,
Okay,
who
beautiful.
actually was very important for
Mm-hmm.
me because he was very good to me. And we stayed together for a couple of years.
Yeah,
And I mean, we were together in the Buddha field, and it was beautiful. It was very beautiful. It's
yeah,
amazing because there I was in Pune, where people basically had so many boyfriends and everything. And I only had this boyfriend for the time that I was there.
yeah. You said in your book, and that's the general feeling I got from your reading your story too, that you don't get, you when you were young, you never got too attached. When you always were like a um individual seeker, even in the communes, you were part of, you were there for your own growth, but you never really associated with a lot of people around or what was happening there.
Exactly. Yes, I'm somehow like that. I feel that a part of me is a hermit.
Mm,
Right now, it's wonderful because I live alone and I have family. So sometimes I go on be with the group, but I have to come back to myself.
Mhm.
So, in the middle of the group, for me, the magic was that I could feel part of something that was beautiful, not only in the ashram, at Osho discourses, or in the music group, but I used to actually go walking in across the river into the poor people market, the Aurora market.
Yeah.
And to me, just to be nobody,
Mm.
just part of the crowd, walking like you have no name and no identity. To me, this is like I used to go at Kundalini time, because when you have a little baby like I had in that time, you have to take care of them.
Mm.
So she was very adventurous, Pranava. Just you could take her anywhere. She would enjoy, and she was very friendly with everybody. And she had her little mala, so people would kiss her feet. It was beautiful. And to me, that was the meditation. In there is no thoughts, no mind,
Mm.
nothing. You just be part of everything.
But was there a time, Martha, because if I'm putting myself in that situation and I'm just thinking, a child could feel like a burden when you're so much into exploring yourself and having to take care of someone who is so dependent on you and everything. Does that feel like a hurdle when you're so into? Did you ever feel that, or you just accept?
No, I didn't feel like that, because I think that when I met Pranava, when she was born, and even the time when I was expecting her, because I didn't know this relationship that you can have, like with your mother. Then suddenly I was able to explore this incredible love and relationship. And so, even just to look at her little face and to listen to what she was trying to say and to watch her walking, it was fascinating.
Mhm.
So, to me, to have her, it was a blessing. It was amazing. I never felt this was a burden.
So
It was
beautiful.
like a little angel that suddenly life gave you to be with you. And she was very good.
Mm.
She was very good. She was friendly. She was always happy. So it was fun to have her.
Yeah. So you and Chandro, what I find so interesting is that a lot of people stayed within the commune and never really went out much in India, like probably Goa, as far as they could, like Goa and Pune. But you explored the local areas. You took the public transport. You went to a place called Ajanta Ellora. I have been there too. It's a beautiful place,
Oh my
and
God, that was incredible.
and you
That was
you
incredible.
you had some experiences there. Do you want to share what happened to you and how you were able to go into that frequency, probably, which is always there, but we don't connect with it?
Exactly. So Osho had said in one of his lectures that we should go to Ajanta and Ellora, because in there we could really taste what meditation is.
Mm.
So I wanted to go because it was not too far away. So I called Pranava's father, and he came to Pune. So I left her with him, and Chandra and I took a bus, one of these old buses, and went
The red
into,
one.
yeah, and went into what I would call the heart of India, which already felt like being in biblical times, because people were walking from one city to the other. Everything was dusty, sunny, but it was incredibly, because to me, from the moment I came to India, it was like arriving to the mother of the world. I felt that. I just, I had to kiss the, the floor when I came to the airport in gratitude that I had arrived. So um, we came, I think it was first to Ajanta or to Ellora, and we just walked, and we were young, and we were fearless, and we both were very fascinated with India. So people also treated us with a lot of respect because we were sannyasis.
Yeah.
And so the one of the experiences I had is we were Chandra means the moon, the full moon.
Yeah.
So it was a full moon night when we arrived, and we started walking, and suddenly we arrived to this huge door, like an entrance to a city. And
Mhm.
we didn't know anything. We were just walking. And people in India, I don't know if it's like that today, but in those times, you could actually kind of make friends with the person who was taking care. And we said to him, "Oh, it would be so nice to look at this place in the full moon." He
Yeah.
said, "Oh, would you like to do that?" And we were
Mhm.
like, "Sure." So he opened the door, and we came. It was like going into a kind of different planet or a different dimension,
Mhm.
because of course the night gives mystery to the things, and this was a city filled with huge buildings, all buildings, but also statues of bodhisattvas,
Yeah.
and the steps were very wide and then kind of short. You had to be careful.
Yeah.
And somehow each one of us took a different road of exploration. And I just kept walking. And I don't know, at some point, I stopped. Something made me stop. And I had this experience of just being kind of at the edge of the world. It
Mhm.
was incredible. And I could feel as I stood there that something, some kind of energy, kind of aligned everything in my physical body. And I kind of lost for a moment the sense of my humanness. And I had for a few, I guess, fractions of a second, I have no idea about time,
Yeah.
the feeling that I was part,
Yeah.
but I was out in the cosmos, and the cosmos was looking at itself through me. And
So beautiful.
I don't try to understand. It doesn't matter to me. It's when you have experiences like that, it's so difficult to put it in words.
Yeah. Yeah. And you don't question it also because it gets,
Exactly. I
yeah.
never made a fuss about it. It
Yeah.
was just, I remember that a silence just kind of, it was filling me up in such a way that I actually hold Chandra at some point that night, and I said to him, "Hold me tight," because I had the feeling that I was kind of disappearing.
Mm.
So it's like, really hold me, because the intensity of the silence, and that's all I can say, it was so huge, was so profound. I
It's so
just,
interesting that um, I went there when I was a kid with my family, and there were thousands of other people. It's a cave, right? There are stone carvings, and then there are these bodhisattvas, huge Buddha stone stupas and stuff. So, but my experience was nothing like yours because I just went, clicked pictures, and then I came out. And it just gets me to thinking because I heard a lecture Osho had given in Hindi a few days back. He was talking about Kashi, which is Banaras.
uh-huh.
Um, and it's a dusty old city with like dirty lanes and stuff. If you go just to see Kashi, there's nothing. A friend from America, actually, I when he was visiting India, I said you should go to Kashi, and he went, and he when he came back, I asked him how it was, and he said, it's a good one time experience, but I'm not going back again. Because normally what we see is the thing that we can visualize with our eyes,
Exactly.
right? And Osho was talking about Kashi in this lecture, and he's saying there is one Kashi which you can see, and then there's another Kashi which is a city built like no other city. It's a city of gods, and people dwell there. And but you need to be in that frequency, and there are always like some 500 saints always there. And if one has to die, then the other has to take place. But these are things we don't know. We It's a metaphysical world,
Exactly.
and so a lot of times, like even me, if I go to Ajanta Ellora, I don't have the experiences you had. So
Also,
there's so
like,
much we know and so much we don't know, so
exactly. But you just said it, the meditative state. So I had already been in the ashram for like about 2 or 3 months, and I had done sasen, which also was an incredible experience for me. And so I was not in the normal state of being. Also, Osho triggering us in our energy, an opening. So we were open for those experiences because meditation, the presence of Osho, his darshans, his energy, he was giving energy darshan and all that. It just kind of prepare the ground for you to be able to see the reality that exists in the planet,
mm,
and in a way to be able to taste what other meditators left,
yeah,
because these temples, I mean, they are thousands of years old.
yeah. And I think there are thousands of these energy vortexes all over the world. Maybe a lot of them are in India because so many enlightened masters happened and stuff. But even a lot of sannyasins, when they met Osho, they had the similar experience that you said. They felt like they're disappearing when they looked for too long in his eyes, and they felt like they had to pull back and hold on to something. So I think it's just, it could be in a person, it could be in a place, it could be anywhere. It's just how open and receptive you become.
Correct.
Their experience, yeah, it's beautiful. You also had a chance to visit the ranch, Rajneeshpuram, and it's a beautiful story. Please tell us how you uh, did few projects there around the samadhi, how you decorated, and you had a chance to be in the Osho's. He gave you a gift, so please tell us all about it.
Thank you. Well, I actually had such a trust in Osho because I already had a trust in life. And so also because Siddhartha kind of was part of that circle of people that knows what is going on, that not everybody kind of had access to that information. At some point, he said, Osho is going to America. And I was like, wow, if Osho is going to America, me too. I'm also going to America. But also, I had spent, I think, in that time about a couple of years without seeing Osho, or maybe 1.5 year, and something in me was missing. It's like suddenly you don't see somebody that you really love and you miss them. So I started secretly praying, kind of telling him, listen, I want to see you. Okay. So I went to America with a friend and with Pranava. First, we went to New York and we spent some very nice time there. And then at some point, while I think I was in San Francisco, or perhaps I was in Los Angeles. I can remember I was in California, and Siddhartha said, okay, I'm coming. So he came to San Francisco, and we had some weeks of kind of vacation together. And at some point, they called us to go to the ranch. So we arrived at the ranch, and after about 3 days being at the ranch, they told us that Osho wants to see us. And I was like, yes, you know how wonderful. So we start getting ready. I have times in my life when I let my nails grow and I put colors on them, and then I have times when my nails are short and I don't really put much attention on them. But this time I had my nails long and rarely, but I had them painted red. And I had many rings on. So we come to see him. First, we went to the kitchen. People told us how they were preparing the food for him. It was kind of very intimate. And at some point, finally, we arrived at the living room of his house. And we sat in front of him, and he said hello. He asked us, how you doing? What's going on with the commune? And then at some point he said, well, I had prepared some gifts for you. I prepared two rings, one for you and one for Siddhartha, and asked Sheila to bring the rings. And then he gave the ring to Siddhartha, and then he looked at my hands, and my hands were full of rings. Oh my God. So he said to me, oh, but you have so many rings. And in that moment, I felt for a few seconds so bad. You know, the mind starts to tell you all kinds of things. Oh, you were not ready, blah, 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 blah. But then very soon, he kind of remembered he used to pause when he spoke. So he paused and he said, but do you wear earrings? And I said, yes. So he said, Sheila, come and please help her to put the earrings on. And this was so beautiful because it teach me, I think that I had been a therapist, but also on my own personal growth, the most important thing that I had to learn was to accept myself exactly how I am with the whole inventory and to honor who I am. And I think that Osho did a great job telling us that. And I don't know how many people understood that, but for a while I was fighting with who I am. But in that moment, he gave me the example and the experience of, okay, you have the hands full of rings, then I'll give you some earrings. There is no problem.
Yeah.
So that was very beautiful. That was very beautiful. And we stay, I think that I stay at the ranch about 5 months or 6 months. And very soon we were first, they called me to help with the greenhouse. And at some point, they sent me to this huge place. It was like a field with another sannyasin. We were all sannyasins. And they gave us a garden rack, and they told us to start cleaning the ground. And this was this desert, was just filled with stones and everything. So after you use this tool for about an hour or so, your hands start bleeding. So we look at each other and we were like, oh my God, what did we do? What is this? But we ended up the day with, bloody hands, but we did the work that they asked us to do. So at the end of the day, they said, okay, tomorrow you are going to get 50 people and you are going to um, landscape the whole land that was going to be about around the Buddha Hall, which was the biggest greenhouse that was ever built in America. It actually held 20,000 people. So the adventure began, with these 50 people and cleaning the ground and then bringing the rolls of grass, putting the grass, just taking care of the grass like if it was a baby. It was amazing. It was incredible for me to have that. And when that was finished, then they sent me with four other women to plant 15,000 trees. I think we took about 2 weeks, but that was incredible. It was, it was just like, it was the first time I had an experience like that, that the grass is your family, the trees are your children, and you're just taking care of that with incredible love and dedication.
You also decorated the samadhi of Vimalkirti,
Exactly.
who
So
was.
when all of that was finished, one day they called me and they put me on a golf cart and they said, okay, now what you're going to do, you're going to prepare the samadhi. And they gave me this kind of cloth bag, round, and the other person took the other one. And I'm curious, I'm just like a naughty girl, I look at that and it was an envelope. So I open up the envelope and my God, it was the ashes from Osho's father, from Papa G,
Mm.
from Tata G. So, it was amazing. So we set a place for the ashes for him, for Osho's father, and for Vimalkirti, which was a disciple who belonged to the European royalty and was a very loved person in the ashram. And he had died recently. So that was also an amazing project. Then I had to be a tour guide. It was beautiful. It was very beautiful because we were just about 300 people. And so Osho was kind of very available. There was a time, I don't know if you read that he was going with Rolls Royce and
Yeah.
he stopped. And when he was passing with the Rolls Royce, sometimes you had to run from your place of work. And so I remember that I came running from my place of work and somehow tried to put myself together in the line. And he had just stopped in front of us. And suddenly from nowhere appeared a chicken on the road. And this chicken would not go away. The chicken was going around. So we all laughed and also laughed. So it was just a moment where you have him in front of you, laughing at the craziness of life. Huh?
Mm.
So yes, it was beautiful. Beautiful memories
Yeah.
of a teacher, of a master that was in a way, I don't know, such a beautiful person,
Mm.
so loving, so crazy, in
Yeah.
the sense that he dare. And I love that because I'm like that too. I think one has to be very daring in life.
Yeah, your life story is definitely one about courage, and you just hit it head on. Martha, when you were in the commune, didn't you feel like staying back and just being around Osho all the time? Because a lot of sannyasins had that desire to be in his presence. Most like they couldn't leave him. Was that your experience?
No, I mean, to me, honestly, I felt that my first responsibility was my child. And I look around, and there were so many different things that I didn't like.
In the
Perhaps
commune,
for
how when it
me,
was being built?
perhaps for me. But I think that Osho attracted all kinds of people, amazing people, loving people, terrible people, you know. And so I didn't want to expose my child, who was a little girl, to anything where I was not in control. Also, because having an experience with sexual abuse when I was little, I was like, just really very aware that I was the one, this was my child,
Yeah.
and this was my responsibility. And I didn't have to be close to Osho to do my inner work. Osho said many times, and to me, this is true. He was a door. So I didn't want to run behind the person. I wanted to practice and I wanted to put into an experience his teachings. And that I could do from anywhere. And I think that the first teaching in that sense for me was I have to take care of my child. I have to be there. So I don't think the ranch to me, or even Pune, was a place where I wanted my child to be raised by somebody else. No, I'm not like that. I'm somehow very conservative, in this concept. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And I think Osho said in his lectures also that for mother with small children, taking care of your child is
Exactly.
your meditation. That
Yes,
is your.
and
So,
I heard that, and it gave me that freedom because exactly when I came to Pune, he was talking about that, and he used to say frequently, when you have a small child, that is your path and that is your meditation.
yeah,
And even though I had to leave my daughter with her father a few times, this was very difficult. And I wish I would have had somehow a different situation that I wouldn't have to do that. But
yeah,
like my daughter said, well, but mom, dad also had the right to be with me. She
yeah,
was very mature,
yeah.
she was like, and they have a beautiful relationship. She loves her dad and she loved him from the very beginning. So I didn't want to interfere also in the
I
relationship.
hear you. I think once you're a mother, you become like this tigress around your cub, right? You are very
Totally.
active, yeah.
To-
And your senses are like always alert towards any kind of danger, and somehow it just comes into you, and you're built that way. So yeah, but such a beautiful experience, right? Just to receive those gifts and be involved in these beautiful projects of planting trees and beautifying
I
the
know
place.
this was so amazing. Sometimes I think about that and I'm like, I have 50-year-old kids that are trees. They must be huge now. It's
Yes,
amazing.
yes,
Yes.
yes. So Martha, another question. You had to go through a lot of a coldness and numbness in your childhood because of the violent situations and the abuses, but you had a very strong connection with something bigger than what we live in this world of the love that we call within people. But does that make you connected to something higher but not trusting of the people around you? And were you able to trust, and when were you able to trust and love people around you?
I think that in one hand, I guess what you get from an experience like that is the capacity to read people. Because to me, the main thing that I got from my experience of sexual abuse there, where it was happening, was that I could feel the energy of this person, almost like, I could say, perhaps almost like a being from another plane that was devouring my energy. I felt after the whole experience with the sexual abuse happened, I felt drained. And I could feel it even though I was 9 years old. So that somehow, I have thought about that many times. And in my therapy practice, I would say at least 95% of the people that I see had experienced it with sexual abuse. And I learned from one of my amazing teachers that died a few days ago, and I love her so much, Dr. Renee Johnson, which is the founder of the Rapid Eye Institute. She said to us that when you have a client, a patient, um, if you if you didn't have the experience to go into those dark places and have been able to come out, you cannot guide them out. And to me, it was like, this was beautiful because you stop being the victim, stop feeling sorry for yourself. And in a way, at some point, you feel that your life was so perfect that every experience that you got was a gift. If I would not have had those experiences, I would not know how to guide people out of those dark places. So, yes, what I got was a capacity to read people, but I kept on trusting people. I, by nature, and I'm a very trustful person, I'm kind of a little bit spaced out. So I have to kind of center myself in a certain way to really get into that space of mistrust with people. I don't know if you read that I had an experience with a taxi driver in Spain and I in those times I was wearing my mala and my orange clothes, and I was like 25 years old.
Yeah.
And this guy, I was visiting a friend who was living outside of the city of Barcelona. And you had to kind of go up and up and up and up through roads that were filled with trees and forest, and nobody was there. And
Mm.
this guy stopped the car and he showed me a pornographic magazine. And he said, "Okay, I want you to do this for me." And I was, you know, of course, you get into a panic, but somehow awareness took over. And so I actually came close to him and I said to him, "That's dishonoring yourself.
Mhm.
You're looking for love. That's not love. When let's say that this would happen, you're going to go away with such a bitter taste in your mouth.
Mm.
That's not love. Look for love, for real love, and you will be fulfilled." And we talked for a while, and he let go. He didn't do anything to me. There was this person in the United States called, let me see if I can remember, something with Pilgrim. She was a woman who decided to walk across America. And one night she was so tired, she was walking, and she just stopped a truck driver in a truck. And when she went inside, she knew, she could see, because her senses, when you put yourself in situations of danger and
Mhm.
situations out of the normal,
Mhm.
somehow your senses grow. So
Mm.
she realized the guy was going to rape her.
Mm,
So she said to him, could I, could I please use your shoulders to sleep because I'm so tired? So
mm,
she gave him all her trust. And he
mm.
said, of course. So she actually falls asleep, on his shoulder. And this guy followed her and took care of her for 7 years. So trust is also, I think we have to learn to kind of manage energy
Yeah.
and to really embody those qualities like trust. And Osho used to talk about trust, that if you want to trust everything, even if you think that's going to be bad, trust it.
I think there's a point in what you're saying, and I would like to view it as when you said energy, that is what resonated with me because I'd heard someone a few years back say this that even in these dangerous situations, especially for a woman where it's about physical abuse or assault, or if a woman knows if she's incomplete in some ways in her, and then she invites that kind of energy, which also seems like love to her, she's unaware of it, but it's also inviting some kind of. But if a woman is very self assured and knows what she wants, when she wants, with whom she wants to be with, then the chances of the other person crossing that boundary become very less. So I think your experiences are speaking to that. What you said, these two experiences, that in your own, you were so centered and you knew that this was not, and that's why that other person resonated with it. Otherwise, it's hard for,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. I love the concept that is actually a concept from the Native Americans, to hold a space. And I had to meditate a lot what that means, what it means to hold a space for
Mm-hmm.
someone. And it could mean that you hold a space of trust for your child who is actually doing not so good in college, but you hold a space that this person is going to find a way. Or you hold a space of unconditional love in different situations in life. And that affects the outcome of the situation because you are managing energy in a very conscious way. Because what we are is energy.
Mm-hmm.
This very solid body that and personality and person and everything that we are somehow this physical plane is just energy,
Yeah.
atoms in motion, molecules, everything. And we can affect the energy through meditation, through intention, through basically knowing what this is and how we can direct it. And I think that meditation gives us that. I feel now I actually read a lot because my practice is open. I keep studying, I keep learning, and I always find that these new concepts that the new teachers and the psychologists and the geniuses that we have right now, some of them, um, you can actually take their teachings and their narrative and their conclusions back to Osho's teachings.
Mm.
Osho was a genius. He would tell us so many things that if you actually go, I feel that being in synchronicity through gratitude
Yeah.
with Osho. Sometimes I open a book and in there is exactly what I needed for inspiration or for whatever I needed.
Yeah.
And I think he was a master of energy. And he taught us that. That's how I interpret
Yeah.
my
I think a lot of people, and
disciple.
I have this feeling too, that he was a he was a master of a lot of things because he came down to a lot of paths, but tantric guru is what uh, he worked lot of with energies of people, and he could play around that, and it was beautiful how much he could get done in because of the extraordinary abilities of seeing into a person and giving exactly what that person needed at that moment. So it's amazing.
Exactly.
It's amazing. Martha, we come to a very sensitive topic. I thought it was the most important thing I mean, everything was important, but this kind of brings it to the climax. And I'm going to put the book's cover page for people. It's Returning to the Essential, A Soul's Journey. And this book is published now on Amazon.
Not yet. No. I'm kind of still, I just finished kind of the editing in English and
Okay.
in Spanish. And now I have to search what is going to be the way for me to publish it. I haven't really decided that yet.
It's a beautiful cover, and the book is so detailed about your journey, and so many parts of it I resonated with. Um, Towards the end, when your daughter is living in America, and she has a family, beautiful family with four grandkids now for you, but you did hit a rough patch with her where you weren't really communicating with each other, and the whole journey is beautiful, how you came to the realization. Do you want to talk about it?
Yes. And that was somehow the icing on the cake because suddenly you find yourself in a situation where you have no communication with your only child. And also the situation that I guess a lot of people who are immigrants go through, which is you belong to a culture. And even though I consider myself a worldly person, somewhere deep inside, I'm still Colombian from that, class where I came from, and with part of the beliefs that I had when I was growing up. And so a part of me expected my child to behave like that. But my child was born in Europe, grew up in Europe and in America. She really didn't have much to do with Colombia. So she didn't learn that those, let's say, certain manners, certain patterns. And so I had to go deep inside myself into the blaming part of me because in the beginning, I kind of took that role of the offended mother, you know. Oh, that my daughter has to be like this and like this and like this. And at some point, I say, no, this is not working. So you need to kind of just look at her, put yourself in her shoes, listen to the complaints because she had some complaints, not big ones, but they were very specific. So I had to really go through that because I felt at some point, perhaps I'm going to die, I don't know when, and I don't want to leave this planet in a situation of distance with my daughter. And when I actually meant also within my heart. And so I started one of the most incredible adventures I have ever taken. I did a meditation which I had done in the past, but this time I did it every day for a whole year, which was the meditation on death, to release the attachment, to the idea that things has to be this and this way. And that really helped me because also Osho used to say that if you have a taste of death, you then can really live. And this was so true. And then I actually took myself as a client because I'm someone who likes to go really deep. If I'm going to work on something, I want to do it 100%. And I look for therapists and I realize this is something that I have to do myself because somehow I had a deeper understanding and it was something that I couldn't really find in the other person the guidance. So I just,
At the end of this whole journey, you came to this realization, this emotion in you, which it's amazingly courageous first to accept it. Yeah, you said in your book that when you were going through this rough patch, when your daughter was living in America, you were also living in America, but you had no connection. You were in the hospital for COVID, and you were going through it, and then you had this epiphany that your daughter felt that she was an uninvited guest in your life.
exactly, perhaps not that way, but she used to say to me, you disown me.
Yes.
You know how the children, and I allow her to say whatever my
Yeah.
father did it, but I was like, okay. So her complaint at some point, like in the teenage years, was you disown me. So even though I understood that, I had to go deep. What is it? What she means by that? And when I understood, I started to try to understand how she feels when she says something like this.
Mm-hmm.
And I was sitting and I was crying because I realized I abandoned this girl.
Mm-hmm.
And perhaps I didn't abandon her and in the way that other mothers abandon their children. But
Mm-hmm.
abandonment can be sometimes that you kind of feel offended
Mm-hmm.
and then you kind of push your child away emotionally. Or perhaps I didn't tell her what I felt, but I was thinking about it.
Yeah.
And even thinking about it, these children can feel it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I had to go deep inside with great compassion. I invented a method because I'm very rebellious. So I was like, oh, these Buddhas, they are men, they don't have kids, they don't know. And I allow
That's
myself
true.
to say that. So I
That's
said
true
to
though.
myself, okay, so I'm going to invent a new kind of Buddha, a mother,
Mm-hmm.
okay? A mother who is compassionate, a mother that doesn't judge,
Mm-hmm.
but also for me. And I always tell my patients, turn on the monitor of consciousness, of awareness, but the witness, the traditional witness that we all learn that we have to kind of turn on, that witness is incredibly compassionate, doesn't judge, but holds a space of unconditional love for you and
Mm-hmm.
allows you to make mistakes because guess what? You're human.
Yeah.
You can make mistakes. Try to make different mistakes, but look at yourself with compassion because you don't accept yourself and then you feel bad and then you start trying to be better
Yeah.
instead of really accepting yourself. So I put myself in her shoes, but I also put myself in my shoes. And I did a very deep work also because I was so sick with COVID and everything. And I came to a complete space of peace where I didn't even, it was like, okay, you have permission to not to talk to me ever again. And to God somehow, I said, and I completely surrender. If I don't have to see my children ever again, I asked, please bless them, take care of them.
Yeah.
And I accept my destiny, but in peace. I don't want to leave this world and have some kind of resentment. No, I'm free, I'm fine. And when I came to that point, she appeared back in my life. It's amazing.
Yeah. It's beautiful. Your journey has been one of courage. You are a rebellious woman from the core.
Thank
And
you.
I think the biggest rebellion people do not realize is when a mother accepts things about her. We have this whole notion that a mother is perfect, she has unconditional love, and so on and so forth. But even she is a human, she has her shortcomings. And when you can see yourself in that light, along with everything else that has happened in your life and you've accepted it, I think it's one of the biggest battle won, kind of, if
Oh,
I see it that way. um, and the children reflect that to you at each every point in their life. What they are saying is their honest feelings. They do not say that to torture you or whatever, but you see that and you accept those
exactly.
shortcomings in you. I think it's beautiful, the journey. And they easily forgive you too. If you just accept it, they very easily forgive you. That's the beauty of mother child relationship.
Exactly.
Yeah, so
Exactly.
yeah.
Because you hold this pure space for them
Yeah.
and it extends to them, and you are giving them a silent teaching about love and about, just being alive and being at peace and at ease with whatever life brings you. Also, the courage to say yes to the different lessons that we have to complete in this school called Planet Earth.
Yeah.
That's what it is all about.
Martha, you sum it up beautifully. We're coming to the end of this show now. Your journey has been one of, in spite the odds, trusting, being brave, courageous, following your own inner voice, and going through the deep inner work and connecting with yourself through all these moments. It's very inspiring. I'm very touched to have had this opportunity to talk to you today.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much for being on the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Many blessings to you.
Thank you.
Take care.
You too.
The night gets heavy, shadows start to crawl, but your arms are steady, they don't let me fall. Every fear I'm holding